What's up, guys? It's the third upload for today, so apologies in advance to your subscription box because I'm sure it's getting kind of full at this point with a lot of Metroid Prime stuff. It's been a weird day. All right, this is not a normal day when it comes to this stuff. It's not every day you see a company like Nintendo have to restart development on what is essentially one of their, you could even say, AAA IPs, like a Metroid Prime. It's something that kind of took the internet by storm. It's shocked a lot of people, and it's also confused a lot of people to a degree, and we're going to talk a bit about this today in a rumor that is kind of giving us a little bit of backstory to Retro's involvement here, because it seemed to also catch people off guard with Retro's involvement after they had previously said that they weren't as interested in pursuing Metroid Prime as much as they were trying to pursue something a bit different. That was in interviews, and other outlets were kind of talking about that a while ago. So here we are now with Metroid Prime 4 being restarted. If you missed that news, very quickly, Nintendo had to restart after running into development issues. It seems it wasn't up to their standards, so they have shifted. They essentially are restarting, and they are bringing on Retro Studios as what appears to be the lead studio to get it done, get it to the finish line, and bring it out to a certain quality, which Retro is very good about. Now, what is the deal with Retro Studios, though? And this is where things get interesting, and I put this in Rumor Wave mostly because it is not confirmed, obviously. It's not from Nintendo, but the source is reliable enough to actually talk about here and kind of keep an eye on, because the one thing I'll tell you, this is probably one of the hottest stories already of 2019, and it's going to be because people are going to be digging into the background and what happened with this game, and somebody is probably going to find some kind of screenshots or prototype or something of the canceled version of Metroid Prime 4, because remember, they're starting over, which means somewhere out there, probably locked away Nintendo right now, is a copy of Metroid Prime 4 that will not see the light of day and is not up to Nintendo's standards. So we'll see what happens there. So let's actually get into what is going on here with the rumor and everything. And as always, guys, if you're enjoying these videos, hit the like button. These are a little more impromptu videos where we kind of talk about this stuff while I'm at the desk here, while I'm doing some writing. So works out a bit better to do some of these rumor type videos at this time like this. So let me jump over to Imran Khan. And this is the senior editor for Game Informer. And that would obviously put him into a certain category of people who do have a lot of information with different developers, studios, and contacts. He obviously would know people who would actually have information like this. And he even goes on to explain, which is something that we kind of already know about Metroid Prime 4, because we've talked about this several times, where people uncovered information about its development through LinkedIn, of course, and we saw Eurogamer even kind of dig further and find out information. He says, hearing that the big problem with MP4, Metroid Prime 4 development, was Nintendo's experimental ad hoc development process. It was being made in parts in different countries. Some studios were trucking along, saying it was going smoothly, while it was on fire elsewhere. And we know that because, as an example, we know it was being worked on by Nintendo internally, so we would assume that's in Japan. And then we do know that Bandai Namco is working on it. We also know Bandai Namco Singapore. And then we don't even know the other developers or anyone else that might have been pitching in. This is probably a larger collaborative effort to get this done. If it's being worked in pieces in different places, you might have some studios ahead of others, development groups that might have been working on, I don't know, the visuals or something might be behind the team that's working on animations and game logic and the engine, having that all come together. It's an odd idea, and it seems like he was saying experimental, but here's where things get interesting, because while we heard, like Reggie, for example, tell us that everything was fine with it, and well, Reggie's a PR guy. he explains things when media asks questions, and he's pretty good at it, actually, but that's mostly his job. The real business happens in Nintendo Japan, obviously, in their boardrooms, but he does get some things done. Obviously, things like Starlink appears to have been a lot to do with Reggie getting like Star Fox in there and that. So he does still do some things, but I feel like in this instance, he was definitely someone out there just saying, oh, it's good, everything's fine, it's rolling along, Because go back and look at some of the interviews in like December, November. He's just saying, yeah, it's good. Development is going smoothly. But Imran Khan says something very interesting here. And it's something to look at and think about a bit more going forward as we see more of this game over the next 3 years. It's going to be a while. But he says, internal thinking was that it needs to be all under one roof to right the ship. Interestingly, Retro made the pitch for their involvement and put together a demo that Nintendo liked. And this is kind of throwing people through a loop. It's actually hard for people to believe this because we heard, again, that Retro was interested in doing other things, right? They did like Tropical Freeze and helped out with some Mario Kart levels, and they basically wanted to seemingly do something outside of Metroid Prime, which of course is a first-person shooter-style game. They made some outstanding games and stuff like the Donkey Kong series. Tropical Freeze was outstanding. So apparently they're the ones who show up and say, hey, we got a demo for you guys. Let's do this. We'll take over Metroid Prime 4. It's not going well, and I have to imagine Nintendo was maybe even calling them up a bit and saying, hey, what can you help us out here? Retro decided to apparently approach them with a demo. They put it together, and Nintendo liked it, which, okay, that makes sense. Now, Retro, of course, Retro Studios, it's not like everybody still works there who worked in like the late 90s, early 2000s on the first Metroid Prime. I think most people understand that, but they are a quality studio that has put out quality games. And the other thought here that you're going to see a lot of people talk about is why didn't they do it in the first place? It almost seems like Nintendo realized that Metroid Prime 4 cannot be a bad game. It needs to be a quality game. It cannot come out and be like a 70s Metacritic score, just as an example. I know not everyone puts stock into Metacritic or review scores, but you get what I'm saying. This thing has to be a critically acclaimed game. They cannot put it out with just poor quality, because this is a big deal for Metroid Prime to come out and actually be good and sell well on a system that has proven it can sell first-party games. So as long as it's quality, it's going to sell millions and millions and millions of copies. So Retro Studios appears to be involved because they wanted to be involved, which is something that is surprising to people. But why weren't they available when they were first starting development? Most likely because that rumored Star Fox project that we heard about is done. That's what we're assuming. We assume we're going to see it soon, and that would be what would be holding them up prior. That's the only thing that a lot of us can think of. They would have had to have been working on something to keep them away from Metroid Prime 4 in the first place, because even if they didn't really want to do it, Nintendo owns Retro Studios. They could put the project on their desk and say, hey, you got to do this. We need this done. And they would have said, okay, I guess we'll do this. You are paying our bills, so let's go ahead and get this done. But it's good to see. I think it's very important to know this. It's good to see that Retro, again, these are rumors, but we're gonna just for a second, let's put that aside. It's good to see that Retro would be interested in doing this, and they're not seemingly doing it because they have to. If they put together a demo and pitched it to Nintendo to get involved with this thing, they must have seen what it was turning into, or because I'm sure they've been consulted at different things and changes, because of course they worked on the lore in the first 3. I'm sure there were questions to them, and who knows, maybe they didn't like how it was turning out and they said, wait a minute, that's the franchise we built. We'll take this thing to the finish line. Let's slap this demo together. We'll impress Nintendo and we'll take over. And apparently that's what happened. Also, the other thing was, a lot of us have been wondering what happened to Metroid Prime Trilogy. And I'll say it again, it does exist. It is out there, and it's confused a lot of us, because if you noticed, a lot of people believed it was going to be at the Video Game Awards. I mean, a lot of people, people like Per Schneider was confused, right? Like, a lot of people expected it at the end of last year. The Video Game Awards made sense. And the reason is, and Imran Khan puts this out there, I guess that explains where Metroid Prime Trilogy disappeared to. And then when questions further, he says, it's been long done. Initial announcement was supposed to be last month. The game is done. That's the thing that's really crazy. The word that's been going around for a while now is it's been done. Like, it's ready. And it's interesting to hear about that. And now, because a lot of people were confused. We said, what happened to Metroid Prime Trilogy? It's supposed to be here. And now we're hearing about Metroid Prime 4. And I know a lot of people will look at, let's say we'll call insiders or whatnot and say, oh, maybe they're making it up. But it's obvious that it wasn't just one person. It was a lot of people in a lot of different positions confused. And now it's starting to become a bit more clear that there was something going on in the background with Metroid Prime 4. Now, I would like to think that because Metroid Prime 4 is now delayed for, I don't want to say indefinitely, but we're not going to hear about it. I would say the next time we hear about Metroid Prime 4, again, I'm not even kidding, 2021, like before they actually start talking about it, because Nintendo likes to talk about games when they get a bit closer to the release. Metroid Prime 4 was a weird situation because they were going to announce Metroid on the 3DS, and I think that would have annoyed a lot of people if they didn't show a very small clip of Metroid Prime 4. Weird situation for them, but it's been done, and it's interesting to see that maybe this, I mean, I have to imagine this really messed up some of their plans with that, and I'd like to think that because of this, they're looking to get Trilogy out there sooner or later. And here's the thing, it was supposed to be coming out the first half of this year we're in now, which is something I would like to think that they would still do. But who knows? That's the problem with this. Plans change, and this was one of the biggest change of plans we've seen in a long time. We had this revealed to us in 2017, and I don't think Metroid Prime 4 is going to be out until 2022 at the earliest. This is going to be like a 5.5-year project, is what I'm thinking from when they announced it. So it might even go longer than Breath of the Wild. It's interesting times, but hey, I mean, a Metroid Prime trilogy would at least soften the blow a bit, right? It would sting less if we could play all 3 of them on our Switch, soon. So come on, Nintendo, let's get Metroid Prime trilogy out. Also, that video game awards thing will stick with me until they actually put it out. So we'll see what happens there. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Rumor wave for Metroid Prime 4 having Retro Studios being the one to approach Nintendo for their involvement, not the other way around with Nintendo tapping Retro Studios, which technically they still grabbed them after seeing the demo. And Metroid Prime trilogy seemingly done. We assume ready for release soonish. I don't know. It's interesting times. Well, guess what's next week? The investors briefing. So guess what questions are going to be asked? What happened to that big release Metroid Prime 4, and what do you got for us? So yeah, it's coming up. You never know. We'll see what happens. Thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure you like the video if you liked it, dislike it. If not, guys, I'll see you in the next video.